The next program will be the inaugural Design Runway that will feature recipients of Good Design Research GDR program, an initiative by Design Singapore Council. This program aims to help designers and design enterprises to find their unique value proposition through research and experimentation and connect them to a network of knowledge partners. Stay tuned for exciting design projects from our local and regional design institutions too. We have lined up 4 speakers from GDR program recipients who will pitch their innovation ideas and concepts to technology partners and investors, followed by faculty project sharing sessions by Singapore University of Technology and Design, as well as Hong Kong Design Institute. Each speaker will be given 8 minutes to present. Should you have any questions during the presentation, please type them on the Pigeonhole Q&A platform by scanning the QR code at the top right corner of your screen or visiting the website at pigeonhole.at/techinno3. Some of your queries may be answered directly on the Pigeonhole Q&A platform as well.
Good day, everyone. This is Zhang from the Design Singapore Council. Welcome to the Design Runway segment of Tech Innovation Singapore. If you have heard and familiar with Project Runway, this is the equivalent for designers and design schools to present their more exploratory and experimental projects. And hopefully through this platform, they'll be able to gain more visibility and find new partners, especially technology partners, to further the research. It will also be great if there are interested industry adopters that can help them commercialize the research output. Today, 4 of the presenters are supported under the Good Design Research Program. Design Singapore launched that program earlier this year to help our designers conduct deep research so that they may find a unique value proposition and to deliver impact at the personal as well as the society level. Good design can help mitigate some of the world complex challenges like climate change, aging population, diversity and inclusivity in growth, and of course, a sustainable earth. Good design delivers positive changes to our community, to our economy, and the way that we live, work, and play. But doing that kind of research requires significant investment and require connection to a strong network of partners. The Good Design Research Program provides funding for designers to conduct exploration in 3 tracks. First, identity and culture. Second, on system processes. Third, new technology, like those in digital and materials. We also help to build the community through platforms like this and bring like-minded knowledge partners into the fold. Our next open call for the Good Design Research Program is in March 2021. So watch out for that on our Design Singapore website. For now, we shall hear from Roger and Son, Offcut Factory, Common Ground, and GINLEE, who are our first batch recipient to share their research projects. From sustainable practices, mass customization, to citizen engagement through better design. We also have 2 presenters from the design institutions, showcasing their exciting faculty work. From Singapore, we have the Singapore University of Technology and Design, SUTD, and from Hong Kong, we have the Hong Kong Design Institute, HKDI. I hope you will find an inspirational connection and have a fruitful session today. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jax Yeo from Design Singapore Council. Right now, we'd like to introduce the first GDR program recipient, Morgan Yeo from Roger and Sons, a team of ethical makers and mavericks who craft fine furniture and thoughtful objects. Let's hear more about their exciting local tree project.
Hi everyone, thank you for taking time to just be part of this sharing. My name is Morgan. and I'm the director of Roger & Sons, and what I'd like to do today is share with you some ideas that we have in trying to sustain the woodworking industry in Singapore and how we're looking for partners to be able to help us with this. So just a little bit more about Roger & Sons. We're a team of ethical makers and mavericks who craft fine furniture and thoughtful objects. Our work is driven by inquiry and spans disciplines such as furniture, industrial, and product design, as well as a keen focus on working with wood, as well as other materials such as glass, acrylic. So as said, what we really do is industrial design, furniture design, and product design, design consultancy, woodworking, as well as furniture restoration and repurposing. Our company goals over the last couple of years is actually to preserve this dying trade in Singapore, as well as to educate future generations about Singapore trees and woodworking. We want to become an environmentally sustainable company, starting from all processes that we have from the start as well to the end. We would like to be a voice and play a part in steering this industry that we are in right now to be a more sustainable and eco-friendly one. Here are some of the clienteles that we have worked with. So I'd just like to talk to you more about the local tree project. This is an image of some of the trees that we have went to one of the sawmills in Sungai Kadut in Singapore. If you can see from this image, this is actually some of the trees that have been cut down over the last couple of decades in Singapore. This shed is the size of about 4 Olympic-sized swimming pool, and the logs are stacked out about 3 meters high. And this is only one portion of the sawmill. And this is just one sawmill, and there are plenty of other sawmills right now in Sungai Kadut that have logs just filled up to the brim, just waiting to be used. So the local tree project was actually started about 2-3 years ago. It's actually an ethical furniture initiative where we try to salvage these trees that have been felled for urban development. We plan to rehabilitate these trees, these abandoned logs, and turning them into durable, future-proof objects as well as furniture. So this is actually what the image of a table that we've done. So how did we started this local tree project? The local tree project was started about 2.5 years ago, where we were engaged by Mandai Development. As you know, Mandai Development is actually developing a new park in the next couple of years, and they were trying to see how they could be a lot more sustainable in the methodology and the way that they operate. So what we did was they contacted us, and they actually gave us 2 rain tree slabs, 2 rain tree logs that were actually felled to make way for the new bird park. And we took the trees, and we turned them into various outdoor furniture like benches, tables, and bike racks that were placed back into the parks for people to use. So you can see this is actually a slab bench that we did, some bike racks that's placed outside the Mandai Resort right now. This is located at the zoo. We have placed some outdoor benches for people to be able to rest while they make their walks around the park. Some other benches that were placed in the enclosure. This is actually a conference table that was done for Mandai as well as some small mini stools that were placed in some animal enclosures for the animals to be able to interact and walk around it. Another project that we did that really got us involved with the local tree project is Tan Tock Seng Hospital. Tan Tock Seng Hospital came to us about 2-3 years ago as well. They were doing their new Ng Teng Fong Center of Healthcare Innovation located at Dovina. So what they did was they cut down the trees and passed us the trees to turn them into furniture that was placed back as public furniture into the new building. See, these are some of the benches that we did for them. These benches are placed all around the new building and are used by patients as well as visitors. This is actually some bar height stools and tables that were done for their staff. What we try to do with the local wood as well is just not focus on big items, but we wanted to make the barrier entry lower and more people could participate and be part of this local tree project that we're trying to initiate. So we try to do small objects like this levitating shaver, as well as corporate gifts, as well as small retail items that we have done that was sold to the general public. So I'd like to tell you more about the current collaboration that we're working on. Okay, One of the issues that we work with local trees is that there are not a lot of resources or research and development that have been placed to really understand and to utilize this local wood. Through the good design research that was recently given by us from Design Singapore, we're very grateful for them to be able to give us the opportunity to use sum of money to try to be able to stabilize this local wood. So we're actually working with a company right now where we're taking this local wood and trying to vacuum and impregnate it with an eco-friendly resin so that we're able to stabilize it. This project is currently ongoing and we're aiming to finish it by hopefully by March or April next year. So this is actually some of the plans that we have, and we're doing the call out to see whether or not we're able to find partners to be able to collaborate with us. So some of our future plans that we have been doing and trying to move into is, number one, education. We feel that the only way to bring the industry in Singapore, especially the woodworking industry, as well as the manufacturing industry in Singapore, is to be able to educate the general public, educate aspiring designers as well as students. And so we've been working with different tertiary educations to try to see how we can be able to raise the whole level of education up towards the students, and so that when everybody becomes a lot more educated and experienced in materials as well as manufacturing techniques, the whole level of the industry will be able to just be raised. The second thing we are trying to do is to spend time on research and development to see how else can we utilize and work with local resources in Singapore and see how we can be able to upcycle and recycle and be able to just add more value to it. And the third portion is able to use this research that we have learned working from the local trees as well as, for example, the stabilizing of wood, and try to put them into a new retail line that we're trying to do and to work with make small items such as furniture and small ticket items. Finally, the potential partners that we're working with, they're looking for, that we want to work with. First, we're looking for partners who are able and willing to work with us to do some collaboration on sustainability locally sourced materials, such as the local tree project. We are looking at partners to develop new sustainable materials for the woodworking industry. Materials such as adhesives, finishes such as lacquer or oil-based finishes, as well as trying to make our own sustainable hardware. Finally, we're also looking to develop sustainable packaging for the furniture industry, such as cling wraps and bubble wraps, as well as foam protection. And the last thing we're looking for is partners who are able to want to work with us, as we have a prototyping lab, to be able to improve our prototyping process, such as new techniques for 3D printing as well as molding. This has come to the end of my presentation. If you guys have any questions or would like to get to know more, please contact me here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Morgan, for that presentation. Next, we have the founders of Offcut Factory, Edmund Zhang and Esli, who are both industrial designers, to share about their new initiative to better make use of waste woods.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Edmund, and together with my partner Esli, we run Offcut Factory. So I think before we get into exactly what we do, maybe we can start off by showing you a few images. So what is your first impression when you see these photos? If words like this come to your mind, I don't think you are alone. To the general public, they may be simply photos of waste, but I believe as creatives ourselves, these are untapped resources that we can potentially work with. So what you see here are existing waste material that we have slightly processed. The wood on the left has been trimmed and air dried for 3 days to remove any excess moisture, while the marble on the right has been thoroughly cleaned down. So in fact, these materials can actually be very beautiful, and their journey do not always have to end up in the trash heap. And so as you all should have known by now, what you have seen so far were photos of material offcuts that we took during visits to several factories around Singapore. And as industrial designers ourselves, we often come into contact with some of these companies while working on our projects. And with them, we realize that material waste is in fact a prevalent issue in the manufacturing industry. Most factories that we spoke to had the problem of producing a large amount of material offcuts, which tends to accumulate over time. So here are some of the existing waste processes for wood and natural stone marble. Firstly, for wood, they are mainly collected into a skip tank, And eventually, these offcuts will be sent to the incinerator plant for disposal, while a small amount of them will be made into wood chips or compost for other industries. Likewise, for natural stone, they will be mainly sent to landfills, with only a small amount of them deemed suitable to be made into marble powder for use for other industries as well. So we have also learned that these companies have to often pay a fee to dispose of these offcuts to various venues for disposal. What you see so far are the latest recycling rates in Singapore, and I would like to draw your attention to the bottom highlighted section for stone and ceramic, whereby you can see a abysmal rate of recycling for this particular material. And for us, we see a huge opportunity in rethinking how to better treat material waste in Singapore. And likewise, through the staff, we have also learned that there's a shared sentiment not to see these material offcuts being wasted, with a wish to see them being better utilized. So with that, it led us to wonder whether we could, as industrial designers ourselves, use our skill sets a little bit more innovatively by potentially leveraging on the factory's existing expertise and know-how to create new value. So what do we mean by this? Our goal is to eventually develop an online materials directory, serving as a one-stop hub where consumers and visitors can have easy and convenient access to materials, manufacturers, and products.
So one of our first few approaches will be re-looking at these materials, these offcuts from these factories. How could they be post-processed and remarketed as reusable materials for purchase at a lower cost? And next will be coming up with designs from us with these local factories to develop an in-house collection that really speaks their DNA, using offcuts from these factories and at the same time using these manufacturing machines from these factories as well. So for instance, if a factory has a 3D printing capability or maybe a CNC capability, then I think from us as designers, we'll work according to that. We'll come up with a collection based on that so that each different factory has their own set of products. And these different factories, most of them are age-old and traditional. A lot of these factories have senior staff, and all of them has a wealth of experience. And even though when we've gone down for an hour or so just to have a chat with them, we ourselves learned a lot. And we feel that this knowledge should be shared to the general public. And how we want to do so, it's through a company profiling of these individuals that are really the treasures of these companies and showcase them to everyone else. So one of our first few objectives is to intervene at the current material waste streams. For businesses, as Edmund shared, they have to dispose of these offcuts into a skip tank to have them disposed of, and all this costs money. But how about for these businesses? What if we can help you to transform these offcuts into reusable materials and products? And for the consumer's point of view, I mean, we are able to get quality materials at a lower cost. I think that's a win-win for them. And our second objective is to digitalize all these traditional factories. As Singapore moves on forward towards digitalization, and most services are digital right now, we hope to be the bridge to bring these traditional businesses on board to have a greater visibility in an increasingly digitally connected market. And similarly, we feel that consumers would have easier access and better understanding of these manufacturing capabilities of the factories through our profiling and showcase. So currently we are in collaboration with local factories. It may not stop here, so we really do hope that if you guys have any factories in mind that are definitely are interested to work with us, do let us know. We will definitely reach out to them. And currently we have two material categories. One is wood and the other is marble. But at the same time, we are constantly looking out for other materials that we could work with. So if you have any interesting materials, or you feel that there's a material that you hope that we can help you work with, experiment with, or even come up with reusable offcuts with them, do let us know as well. We are more than glad to be on board on that. So with all the different factories on board at this point in time, we have a few designs in development, and we look forward to coming up with more. And they will be showcased next year at National Design Centre. As Offcut Factory is supported by Design Singapore Council under the Good Design Research Program, we look forward to showcasing our work with the rest of the awardees during next year. And lastly, these are what we see Offcut Factory is at this point in time. But our vision really is to develop an intelligent marketplace platform where it's easier to communicate for consumers and factories, a little bit more seamless, so that materials can be recommended optimally based on the needs of the consumers. That if a consumer wants a certain material, the factory will be able to seamlessly communicate and get it out for them. And that's why we are actually on the lookout as well for web developers and programmers to help us to realize this dream. So I think with that, we would like to end our sharing of what Offcut Factory is. So do feel free to reach out to us with our contact details on the website. So thank you very much once again for hearing or for chiming in. Thank you.
Thank you, Edmund and Esli. Next, we will hear from Tong from Common Ground, a civic facility that aims to design and implement relevant social innovations that can address issues of pressing national concerns.
Good morning. Hi, my name is Tong. I'm the founder and director of a group of social enterprises called the Thought Collective. Thank you so much for having me itself on this particular Tech on Innovation conference. I must admit itself, just to be transparent about this over here, many of us itself in the community building and social sector, we don't actually have much contact itself with the technological and I guess tech innovation sector. And many of you itself who are looking at basically trying to digitize processes and begin to find ways itself of bring scale itself to multiple, I think, wonderful things that you guys are doing. It's an imagination itself that we have very little, I guess, know-how about. And what we're hoping to do itself in this particular short 8-minute presentation is really just to speak out to some of you who might have an instinct over human systems, who might be interested itself in measuring emotion, who might be interested itself in just maybe looking at community and seeing how technology can really begin to enhance us beginning to meet community needs. So what I'll be doing over here is sharing with you, hopefully, a quick rundown within the next 8 minutes or so, an idea itself of what we've been doing together with National Design Centre. It is for now itself I call community design, and it is perhaps a new way itself of approaching how we can begin to actually integrate communities to allow them to be a lot more resilient, a lot more cohesive, especially itself in this time and age itself where disruption is so common. So pandemics aside or things like that, let's begin to run through these ideas, and hopefully itself you'll be able to catch on together with me. Okay, so let's start with this. For the longest time, I would say maybe up to the 1980s or so, much actually of human society was very driven itself by what we call the family system and the community systems. Whereas families were meant to provide for individuals itself that were growing up, anywhere itself from education to just upbringing to idea of provision of food and so on and so forth over here. Family systems over here were actually considered the pillar or the basic building block of any one given society. Then what happened over here was that as people became more affluent, children itself became more ambitious, they began to see all sorts of different needs and wants. The family system itself, because of how small it was, really was not able itself to begin to meet all needs. So what happened over here was that community systems, or means what we call our neighborhood, was actually far more present for people. And they have begun to come in over here. And in Singapore, at least, we used to call this the whole kampong spirit. The idea itself was that, my son not very good, cannot get, some sort of job. Don't worry, Mr. Lim will help you. Mr. Lim will come in itself and give you this opportunity. And what happened over here was that the human networks that were moving at that point in time were largely that they were able itself to pass information on, listen through the grapevine, no rumors over here of who needs what. And what happened is that the community did not have some logistical plan of where the ladder was going, right? And even if Mr. Lim had one particular ladder itself, it was shared by the whole community. It would move around, and there was no need itself for apps to begin to track logistics and track where all these things are moving and where's my DVD. And none of that stuff itself was really present at a point in time because there's so much trust within community that community would come in to begin to provide for each other's needs. And this was all the way up to basically the 1970s in Singapore, where actually this was a very prescient culture that Singapore was relying upon. And I think people, even if you speak yourself with who are older, maybe in the 50s and 60s, right, they still have very fond nostalgia or memories around this particular culture. But what happened over here was that Singapore became obviously far more affluent. And there was a need itself to begin to look at ways in which we could bring greater equality and stability itself in meeting everybody's needs. And what began to emerge over here was, and I want to say this very clearly, that we're not necessarily pointing out this is necessarily wrong, but government systems, organizational systems, market systems necessarily came in to create stability in providing for people's needs. And in doing so over here, we found, right, that many of these systems actually were technical systems. They were more predictable. They had itself to have very clear supply chains, right? This is basically the input, this is the output. And in that sense over here, because of how technical they were and how systemic they were, it was easy itself, right? We can take that and put it into a digital process. And computers, obviously, itself, right? And much of actually what we have within artificial intelligence today really support these particular processes. And beginning to move anything from logistics itself, right, to just even legal processes. And in doing this, right, what happened over here was that Singapore, especially, government became very, very large. And as it became large, community systems felt, oh, maybe there's no need for us to begin to do these particular things anymore. So even though community systems and family systems were designed to be adaptive, right, which means over here that no matter how diverse people were, they could always begin to adapt, right, and find somebody itself a good match. Technical systems over here were not built to be adaptive. But what happened over here was that because of the reliability of what they were creating, anything from education to jobs and things like that, we built solid systems that began, I guess, itself, right, the whole story behind Singapore being from third world to first. So the idea itself was reliability in terms of the focus of the design. So the design itself, right, was really reliability focused, and obviously processes and systems, right, were planned as a result of that, as for the outcome itself of reliability, right? And Singapore, by no coincidence over here, is known to be one of the most reliable, stable, predictable countries in the world. Right? Now with that comes some issues, but we're not going into that, okay? So unfortunately, what happened over here was that social services, right, within Singapore began to actually take on that particular tone. There were more and more people itself in Singapore who were clearly itself not able to break out of poverty. There were all sorts of different needs itself, right, from disability to mental health and so on and so forth. And the needs itself were urgent. They were very client focused. We need itself, right, to bring all sorts of urgency and stability to these little communities because of how disrupted their lives were, largely because of whatever disability they had. And social services itself, right, began in that particular space. Today, social services extends anywhere into mental health, to extending much more broader definitions itself of what poverty means, of providing opportunity itself for community, of coming to a space over here where we're looking at just even racial issues, religious issues, diversity issues. But in doing so over here, the early inception itself of social design really was basically the same thing. It was reliability and process focus. So as a result of that, what has happened over here is that diversity these days, 2020, right, I would say maybe 2010 onwards, has become exponentially huge issue itself, right, when it comes down to the social sector and community sector. Diversity disruption itself has meant that many of these particular systems, which were meant to be reliable, are no longer so reliable. There's just too much diversity. Policy itself is too blunt. It's not able itself to catch all the different issues that are emerging. So anything itself, right, from different languages that people are coming in, right, different interests that people are coming in, to be able itself to create some standard to say, this is the bottom line. Well, I'm not so sure that these days and age we even have the bottom line. And what we're looking at over here is whether or not, right, there can be more adaptive ways to meet community needs. So what you're seeing is on the periphery over here, that social design, right, and process systems planning are both parts itself, right, of a reliability focused, system. But what we want to look at over here is whether or not there are gaps in meeting people's needs. And obviously there are. So what thankfully itself has emerged in the world over here is really this whole idea of organizational psychology or organizational development. This is the field of study over here that really looks at emergent human behavior, looking at power dynamics, looking at basically resistance in organizations. But the bottom line of this whole body of work itself is really restoring humanity to the system. Trying to see a much more human-oriented approach, right? If I move away processes, what do human beings really need and how do we meet them? Okay. The second thing that's began to emerge over here is around the whole field of architecture. And they moved away itself, right, from basically, safety, reliability of buildings. And more they can pay attention to the human impacts of design. What is happening itself to our built environment? What is happening to our architecture and the way we design, void decks or spaces? And what has come over here is basically an emergence of not just space design, but placemaking. How do we create a sense of place for people, right? And again, this is about restoring humanity to our infrastructure. What we're hoping to do at this ground juncture is the good news about both these fields over here is that they've taken traditionally things which are very intangible and vague around human dynamics and human processes and actually managed to codify them. We've managed to understand more and more about what goes into building trust, what goes into building resilience, what goes into building itself, right, a sense of cohesion among society. And this is where our instinct is here, that although we have learned how to begin to codify these things, and we're hoping to bring these together into what we call community design, we're also hoping that somehow itself, right, there's a coder out there, somebody within digital space that can be able to take this codification and translate it into a digital form. Hopefully to create far more adaptive systems, one itself that can respond to actually, disrupted or changing human needs. And we're hoping to bring this together in some sort of digital product also. So we're looking for people or talent itself, right, who are interested in doing this particular work together with us. We're not sure itself, right? I think the front part, we built a translation work over here to understand how is it you're thinking about things or seeing things over here. But I believe over here that if it's about 100% of knowledge of knowing how to codify these things, we're probably at about 55 to 60% or so. And we have a better sense itself of basically codifying the intangible. So we're looking for help for this. So that was my short 9-minute pitch over here, right? Hopefully itself, right, this is helpful for you, right? So look forward to itself to meeting you and answering your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Tong Yi. And finally, we have Tamir Niv from GINLEE Studios, a women's wear designer studio that aims to use technology to make more efficient pleat designs in its fashion wear.
Hi, I'm Tamir, industrial designer and co-founder and designer in GINLEE Studio, an award-winning women's wear label based in Singapore and Tel Aviv. We are the participant of good design research by DesignSingapore Council. My partner in work and life, GINLEE, is a fashion designer, and together we have created some really cool cross-disciplinary designs which became our signature. We are known for our pleated items. We design for the woman who's looking for this special dress with a twist that can see her from day to night. We started as a consignment label in 2011, and we have evolved to having our own retail and online presence in both countries. We have been growing steadily over the past few years with an annual growth rate of 15 to 18%. As a brand who design, manufacture, and retail our own products, we have a full view of our business from back end to front end. Our challenges are not unique. For this presentation, I will focus on two key issues, which is retail evolution and over-manufacturing. For retail evolution, people nowadays are exposed to lots of information and commercial content wherever they turn. Buying online, locally, or internationally is easy. So why would we bother ourselves going down to the shop? We need a good enough reason. Our answer is creating a unique retail experience to our customers, which is relevant to what we do. We believe that serving coffee is not enough to make a unique experience. For over-manufacturing, our answer will be being sustainable, efficient, and smart. Let me further expand on that. We take our design work very seriously. We try to be very thoughtful and plan with our production. Usually we'll sell about 40% of our stock in full price. Then another 30% on minor sales discount. We typically finish our season with 70% sold. But we always have this 20 to 30% leftover stock, which is really not easy to sell. Most fashion businesses have this problem. Excess stock and over-manufacturing are one of the biggest issues of our industry. Wouldn't it be great if we can maintain healthy inventory levels and keep, at the same time, speed to market? Our suggested solution for those challenges is in-store, on-demand, on-the-spot manufacturing. Going forward into our future, we have created a new project. We call it Make or Make in Shop. So why on-demand is sustainable? Because the product is being made only when the customers ask for it. And fashion companies don't have to make 10 in order to sell 5 or 7. And no, we're not going back into being a tailor shop. We're trying to bridge this on-demand and keep speed to market by localizing production and modernizing the craft with smart, sustainable solutions. So pre-order and on-demand are there for quite some time, but not everyone would wait 3 to 4 weeks for the shipment to arrive, for the order to arrive. We're doing it between 1 to 2 hours. And we're able to expand one SKU into multiple SKUs, which gives us a lot of flexibility in our manufacturing. So I'll give an idea how it works. So we take one size garment block, we pleat it, and by pleating it, we're able to determine size or shape and create a new variant of this product. So we pre-make a reasonable amount of this one size block and we pleat it to size, or we pleat it to shape by top or a bag. So the process goes like this. When order comes in, we take this one size block, we pleat it to shape, to size. We can dye it in shop as well. A few adjustments, a few finishing, and the product is ready for shipping. So that's how it works, the pleating process. So we put the base block between inside the mold. It's a paper mold. Kind of squeeze it and put it together. We're putting it in a steamer for around 40 minutes. And once it comes out of the steamer, it's pleated permanently and take a new shape, a new form. So imagine all this happening in front of you in the shop. We have launched this project about a month ago in our new shop in Great Wall City shopping mall in Singapore. We have designed a shop that is made to serve as a shop and a workshop in the same time. We designed and made special pleating steamers that will fit our needs and safety requirements in shop environment. We are designing the process and the product in the same time in order to achieve our goals of making in-shop manufacturing and giving a new experience to our customers. So besides serving our customers, this shop is our lab. In this project, and this project is an ongoing project. We keep researching into new compositions of pleats, further develop our pleat to size solution. We find alternative ways of making pleats and pleat molds and work on our process and making this pleat process better and more efficient. So to summarize it all, the way we see this project of ours is sustainable. It has smart use of resources. We are localizing the production and lowering the environmental footprint. We are modernizing old craft, and make it better and more innovative. And creating an exciting and new experience for our customers, a new relationship to a product. That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. For more inquiries or questions, please contact me on email at tamir@ginleestudio.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Tamir. Before we proceed on to the faculty project sharing, we would like to remind you to submit any questions during the presentations on our Pigeonhole Q&A platform by scanning the QR code at the top right corner of your screen or visiting the website at pigeonhole.at/techinno3. Representatives from the speakers' companies will also be on the platform to answer your burning questions about their projects and technologies. Without further ado, we will now have Dr. Andy Zheng from Singapore University of Technology and Design, who will share more about using big data to design solutions for China's taxi drivers.
Hi, this is Andy. I'm Adjunct Fellow at Lee Kuan Yew Center for Innovative Cities, and also am founder and CEO of Aspiring Citizens Cleantech. Today, I'm very happy to share with you the design evolution underlying China's first big data insight app for taxi drivers, how big data is really helping the underprivileged workers in the economy. The problem is this. The demand patterns in the cities for taxis is evolving hourly. How do you reposition free taxis adjusting to that pattern? At the top left figure, you can see that the trip generation per hour in this megacity Chengdu changes quite a lot. And the 5 maps you see are the top 10 areas for taxi trips. The red one means there are more pickup than drop off, meaning that we need to reposition free taxis to these zones to fill the gap. The blue ones means there are less pickup than drop-offs, meaning that it's wise for the taxi drivers to get out of this zone to other places after dropping off passengers. And this is for the railway station. The same thing happens again. If you look at in the morning, 7 to 10 a.m., there are more passengers needing to ride the taxi to the train station than those who need a taxi from the train station. But from 5 p.m. onwards till the midnight, you see that there are more passengers needing a taxi from the train station than those who go into the train station. Therefore, we need to find a way to tell the passengers that the train station needs passengers. So with that problem in mind, our design is this. We geofence all those hotspots across the cities, like airport, train station, tourist attractions, hospitals, nightclubs, expo, CBD areas. Just to give you a sense of magnitude, the top 8 hotspots yield more than 52,000 daily trips, or more than 15% of the city's total taxi trips. With that geofencing, then our big data analytics extract KPIs every minute, such as trip demand, free taxi supply, driver wait time in their zone. So with all these KPIs, we use machine learning to give them a color code: red, orange, green, and blue. For example, red meaning strongly recommend taxi drivers to go there. There is negligible wait time. So if it is blue, it means that there are already too many taxis there. Please don't go there. So this is a very simple design, but the result is amazing. More than 1/3 of the taxis in Chengdu are already using Pair Taxi app every day. And those who use the app, their income are found to be 8% more than the city average. And this result is also recently featured in the top media in China, as well as by our partner Ali Cloud. So also taxi drivers, when they are empty cruising, they can also turn on the cruise radar, which actively scans the nearby 3 kilometers for hotspots on a street level. Of course, there are trip heat map like what Uber, Grab, and Didi are currently offering. The beauty of this design is this. It only needs the GPS data, meaning the GPS location and the status of the taxi, whether vacant or hired. So with this data, our big data analytics extracts all the KPIs and the recommendations. So this is very scalable and fast in a plug and play fashion. So from the time that the data comes in to the cloud to the time where a taxi driver is able to use the app, it only takes 2 weeks. With that, I would like to thank you. Gracias. 谢谢.
Thank you, Andy. Next, we have Professor Feng Xiaohui from SUTD, who will be sharing how drone designs can take inspirations from nature.
So hi everybody, I'm Xiaohui. I'm a faculty here at the Singapore University of Technology and Design. Today I want to share with you some of the work that I've done on nature-inspired aircraft, and which I think will actually spur the next generation of drones and unmanned aerial vehicles. So when we talk about drones and or things that fly, most of the time we look at the sky, and the things that we see in the sky are things like birds and insects. And it's a very good form of inspiration where we actually design new flying systems, devices based on this type of mechanisms. So you can see from the slide, birds, insects, all been artificially reproduced. But are there other sources of inspiration? Is there ways that we can actually achieve flight other than looking at birds and insects? So actually, yes, in SUTD, we've been looking from trees, actually. You might not think trees would be a good source for inspiration of flight, but of course trees do not fly, but the seeds from the trees do actually have a very interesting mechanism for flight. The maple seed with a seed and a wing is actually a very famous class of trees that actually have the seed where it's attached to a wing, and actually uses this dispersal mechanism for spreading its seeds away from the tree. So when these seeds fall, they will actually spin, and this mechanism is called auto-rotation, and this is a very inherently stable and very efficient method of flight. In Singapore, we don't quite have the maple seed, but we do have the angsana seed, which I'm sure you've seen before. And the angsana seed uses a similar mechanism. It doesn't have a nice thin wing, but it has a large wing where it flops around to actually disperse far away from the tree. So we actually use this, and we try to analyze and want to mimic, adapt, and enhance this auto-rotation mechanism to develop a new class of unmanned aerial vehicles. So the first thing for this is to actually analyze what's the best wing shape. Say if we were to redesign this this mechanism, what if we would have the chance to achieve this start from scratch, what would the shape be? And to do so, we actually introduced this new platform called the Sunrock auto-rotating wing. It's actually a bionic maple seed that's inspired by this maple seed. And what we do is actually use blade elementary and blade element momentary, which is used heavily in aerodynamics to actually model the wings, the shape of the wing. But we don't actually know the best shape. So what we did is to write a mathematical tool for it. And we have three shapes of design that we want to test. One is actually to maximize the coefficient of thrust of the shape. And this is actually try to maximize the lift generated by the wing. The next one is actually to try to maintain a uniform flow across the wing. And the last one, just as a comparison, we actually have no optimization, a simple rectangle to see whether, if any, does the shape plays a role in this mechanism. So from this, we actually found out some interesting results. We have three shapes here. The third one is, of course, the rectangle, which is a simple shape. But A1, when we found out the results, is actually shaped like a maple seed. So A1 is the black line here. And you can see it resembles a lot like the maple seed. A2, which is trying to maximize the uniformity of the airflow, is shaped like an airplane propeller. Right? That makes sense. And through this numerical simulation, we actually could simulate it when it falls. And we found that A1, which is the one that's shaped like a maple seed, actually falls the slowest. Again, we want something that falls the slow, that means it's actually creating the most lift. And A2, which is shaped like a propeller, actually falls the fastest, which has the fastest descent speed. And A3, which is sort of in between, has a performance that is in between. So this is just a numerical prediction. We actually wanted to check whether in real life it has the same performance. So we actually created a custom wind tunnel to test it. So rather than we just drop it from the sky, we actually put the wing prototypes into this vertical wind tunnel, and we simulate and we turn on the airflow, so the air will actually flow up. And we can change the speed so that we can set to different speeds so that we can see whether the descent speed is indeed the same. And of course, the experimental verification is very similar. And here I wanted to show you the results of it when we deploy it to an actual prototype. So here we have the wing system where we show that we can throw in any orientation. It will enter this auto rotation naturally. There's no energy required. It will naturally want to enter this. And here, to improve the design a lot better, we actually put multiple wings together as an assembly. So the key idea is multiple assembly can combine to create a 5-wing system which could operate together. And once it reaches a certain altitude, you can disperse them, just like what a tree and a flower would do. And we actually tested it experimentally. We actually deployed the parts, built the parts, and then we drop it from a high altitude. And it's very interesting. You can see that individual wings without any energy will naturally spin. Right? Again, this is a very interesting mechanism that is seen widely in nature, but we don't actually use too much for drones. And I'd like to show your attention to the two where when you see two of these wings in the later part of the video, they will hit each other. And despite them hitting each other, they're very robust that they can recover from this falling. Right, you can watch on the left-hand side, there are two wings, they hit each other, but yet they can recover from height. Right, so you might be wondering, why would you want to use this compared to maybe a more traditional parachute and parafoil as I've shown you here? Right, we have used parafoils and parachutes through the ages, but why would this platform be better? And there are many good reasons. One is this is a very simple and very inherently robust design compared to a parafoil and parachutes, which are very complex. And only one actuator is required if you want to have a controlled descent. And I'm sure if you've done parachuting, you'll find that controlling a parachute, a parafoil is very challenging. And lastly, for the summer auto-taking ring, you can actually descend vertically and change the descent speed without moving left and right. But a parachute and a parafoil cannot do that easily. So with this, I'd like to end my talk, and I hope you find this talk interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Xiaohui. Following the inspiring faculty project sharing by SUTD, we will now hear from Bim Leung from Hong Kong Design Institute on some of the exciting projects from his faculty and the key design methodology and process they are using.
Thank you very much for coming to my presentation. And my name is Bim, and also thank you for inviting me to the Tech Innovation 2020. Let me firstly introduce myself. My name is Bim, and I'm from the Hong Kong Design Institute. I just firstly give you an idea what is Hong Kong Design Institute. We are the only design institute in Hong Kong that cover all different disciplines of design, starting from fashion design, architectural design, product design to jewelry design. And I actually come from the Department of Architecture, Interior and Product Design. And we have architecture design, landscape, interior, jewelry design, stage design, product design, product and lifestyle product design, and also exhibition and event design. So this is the department where I come from. And today, what I'm going to talk about actually is two student projects that I'm going to share. These two projects are all from the high diploma in product design. We have two students, they have different cases. One is collaboration with the industry. The other one is a self-initiated project and winning an international award. Before I start, I'd like to firstly talk a little bit about the definitions of product design. Since there are from different disciplines, there are different definitions on design. I really want to explain a little bit about what is design in our program or in our institute. Usually when I look at product design, we usually look at three aspects. One is the user, the market, and also the technology. And user is the one that we mostly concern. We also call our program a user-oriented design program. We understand the user needs and then finally design products design which fulfill the user's needs. The outcome of a product design concept is a design concepts, and also they have a strong and very high potential for production and further development. So after this one, I'm going to talk about how I'm going to explain on these two projects. We'll look at firstly the student learning. The one that the methodology of teaching here is using project-based learning. So that is the learning bit on the students. The other aspect that we are looking at is how we're going to complete a design project. Design thinking methodology is the one that we employ for all the design program in Hong Kong Design Institute, and I will explain it one by one. And how I'm going to present it to you actually is go through the design process of these two product design projects, so you understand on these two aspects. The first one I want to share actually is the project-based learning. I do think that as design educator, a lot of you heard about this project-based learning, and I'm not going to go through all this in details. I'm only going to talk about three of them. And I will not talk about the QA system, which is on the left top corner. The first one, that as we go through the project, we like to explain that actually all our design projects are real-life projects. We are going to looking at the real user, the real market, and also we try to have projects to be interdisciplinary or at least inter-programs. The second one is student-driven. We also call it student-based. What it means is actually students has the autonomy to make decisions by himself. At the very first beginning, actually student will be selecting their scope of research, their scope of market and user to get off and start on their project. And when they go through the project, as the tutor and also the industry providing advices and information, students also had to determine their design direction. All projects are project-based. The other modules are supporting the main design project, which I will explain later. The last one on the project-based learning is collaboration with the industry. We have a strong linkage with the industry from very beginning. And the project I share here is the one that we are working with a company called the TCL. It is a Chinese manufacturer. They make a large screen TV. And recently, they are also working on wearable and also working on mobile phone with flexible screen. So after I explain on the project-based learning, the other aspect that I want to talk about is the design methodology. All our design projects are based on design thinking methodology. I do think that people quite understand what is design thinking, and there are many different design tools within the design thinking methodology. The three of them that I will explain here will be the empathy, the user journey, and also the prototype testing. Okay, let's start with one of the projects. The first one that I want to share with you is called the Smart Pen. Now, the Smart Pen is not called a Smart Pen at the very beginning. This is the one that when they come up to have a final design. And this design, basically, we have a collaboration with the company called the TCL, as I explained before. So when they firstly come to us, when we talk about the projects, they want to explore a new market in their company. So they give us a briefing on what market area, what technology that will be. And they want the scope to be a wearable electronics, which the company itself have never explored before. And they also want to look at young professionals. That is the user market they want to target on. Young professional can be defined as young teachers, young lawyers, young doctors. And all these are actually supported by the company. So at the very early beginning of the project, actually students go visit in China to their factory to look at their production plants to understand their technology. And also between the critique, their professional, including the engineering, the specialists, senior designer also come to visit us to look at our project and give comments. As it first started, actually, one of our students tried to look at young professional and he identified as medical doctors. So the first methodology that we use is we try to identify the user, medical doctor, and also analyze the activities of this user in 24 hours. This is one of the design tools that we call user journey. So within these 24 hours, we are trying to look at where he will be, what he will be doing, and what problem there will be. The problem that we find is called the opportunity gap, or exactly we call it the pain point, which the creative idea can fit in. So after all this analyze, the student keep on drawing to understand the process and the activities that the doctors working every day, 24 hours, and also some sketches. And he finally come to a mid-stage where he designed a dot pen, a pen for the doctor, since he found that actually the doctor wear a pen usually, and also they need a lot of electronics and communication and voice regulation recording function. But interesting enough, when we have this present to the company actually look at the design and have the following comments. They find that actually in the business area, there will be more potential. So the advice is actually put this into the business area for businessmen instead of only for the doctor. So that's how the TCL technology will fit into this project. So in summary, this is industry support project. We make use of design thinking, including the user journey. Prototype testing, we do a lot of interface prototype, and also the industry involvement, where they providing advices. And they also provide us a lot of knowledge on the technology. So the second project that I want to share is called TriCan. This is a course program using design thinking, and we also internationally award. We won one Red Dot Award. So the first one that we started actually is a design project within 4 different programs: product design, furniture design, exhibition design, and also visual communication. We come up to have the same topics called the co-senior project, where we work with the elderly and the young. And this one target to be exhibited in the 2019 Millennium Furniture Show. And one of the students actually tried to look at this. Since his father has a problem on his legs, he cannot walk too far. So he tried to buy one of these chairs for his father, but the father actually responds really interestingly. He said, "It is too ugly." So this is the problem that we find, not only on the physical needs, but also on the empathy and on the psychological needs. And this one is the final design. After a lot of sketches, after a lot of prototype and user testing, the student come up to have the final design that I'm going to show you in a short video next. So as you can see, this is the final design, which can be a can and also a chair. And luckily, we won the Red Dot Design Award Design Concept 2019. And this is one of the achievements that telling us that actually encourage us to go on with all these design thinking projects. So in summary, it is a course program, design thinking, and international award. Now, other than all these 2 projects, I'm going to explain a little bit about the module integration. All our modules actually are integrated together. At least 5 of them will be integrated together to support the design project. So in summary, we have strong language. We also provide very strong language from industry to briefing. We are working on project-based learning. We also have developed into industrial attachment and internship. And we won International Design Award. So these are all the projects I want to share with you. Thank you very much to come to my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Beam, for that presentation. We've come to the end of the Design Runway. Thank you to all our speakers and to all attending this webinar for your active participation today. We hope that you have benefited from the insightful presentations.